We are
This
live
is
on Facebook and cable.
perfect. Thank you very much. This is Bob Pease. I'm chairman of the Lunenburg Conservation Commission. I'm going to read the opening script. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio video recorded. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. During discussions, please address all your comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission is being held by Zoom. If you're watching from home, you can join us on Zoom, so you can participate in the meeting by opening Zoom and putting in the Zoom meeting ID, which is 792-737-0353. And also, if you go to the town's website and go to the town calendar, the agenda is always posted on the town calendar, and the agenda always furnishes the Zoom link there. First thing I'd like to do is do a roll call let's admit this other person. Admit. Okay. And so roll call, Rich Birch, I believe he will not be with us tonight. Jeff Viviano.
Present.
Patty Adams. Katie Childs.
Here.
Thank you. Mike LaRouche.
Here.
Mary Wilson.
Here.
And Rich Tremblay is our associate. Are you here tonight, Rich?
Yes, sir, I am.
Did I say Mary Wilson?
Yes.
I did. And also Nadia
I'm here.
Nadia Madden is our conservation administrator, and she's also here tonight. Does anyone have any announcements? Any members of the board have any announcements? Please signify by raising your hand. You can raise your hand by going to the reactions at the bottom of the screen and clicking on raise your hand. Mary Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a announcement. I'm a little bit thrown off here. I got an echo, but I'll try.
Well, that's you got to turn your volume down on something or other. I forget what, so that you don't get an echo.
Yeah, I think for expediency, I'll just muddle through.
Okay.
But I did want to announce that in my capacity as a Lunenburg snow rider, you're aware that I submitted a Mass Trails grant in this past February, and I'd like to announce that it has been awarded in our favor. This grant will benefit the conservation lands. I think we have 5 properties that will benefit from this grant. Things such as kiosk building, adding gravel to the Cowdrey parking lots. There's some stump grinding activities that are provided for in this grant. So anyway, good news. Over the next year or so, we'll have a lot of activity going on.
Thank you, Mary, and congratulations, and thank you for everything that the Lunenburg Snow Riders does for the conservation lands in Lunenburg. I would just take this opportunity to remind the other commissioners that if you review the letter of support that was written as a result of a vote back in February of the commission, we are pledged to use some of our timber harvesting funds to support this grant to buy materials to build some more kiosks and such. So, but that's a wonderful deal for the commission, and thank you so much and congratulations. Any other announcements from members of the commission? Announcements from members of the public. I'm going to call first, or public comment. I'm going to call first on Chris Anderson.
Look, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Just so the commission's aware, I'm on the hearing tonight for a administrative field change. I was just wondering if we can review that quickly. The relatively minor change. I've reviewed it with Nadia. I just want to see if we can move that to the front of the schedule just to get it addressed and resolved.
All right, Chris, we will do that at the end of a public comment. Oh, no, I guess we'll do it right now, and then we'll go back to public comment. Unless anybody on the commission objects, which I don't think anyone will. Nadia, are you prepared to call up what he's talking about? Or Chris, would you like to share your screen? Let me see if I have enabled screen sharing. I just enabled
Yep, I can
screen
share my
sharing.
screen.
So if you wanted to do it, you could do that.
Can you repeat my screen now?
I'm looking at it.
Just the record, Chris Anderson, Hannigan Engineering. This is relative to a field change that we've encountered relative to some high groundwater conditions on the site. We're proposing to install a curtain drain on the opposite side of the Lunenburg Central project, which is located along Leominster Shirley Road and just to the east of the PJ Keating plant. This was before the commission several months ago, but we're fully into construction and looking to make a minor field change. We encountered some high groundwater due to the elevation of the wash pond next door. In order to protect the interest of the property owner and the longevity of the stormwater system, we're proposing to install a curtain drain with an outlet that will pretty much cross the entire site and discharge in the northeastern portion of the site in this general location. We've been before the planning board as it does impact our site plan approval process. This was also reviewed with the peer review engineer, Graves Engineering, and we've gotten all the blessings from that. The last step would be just this discharge. This discharge is located just on the periphery of the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're still maintaining several of the protection aspects that were granted in the original order. We're just requesting that this pipe be extended into this area to allow for a discharge. The best way to think of this is a glorified foundation drain that may or may never run in its entire life. It's more of an insurance policy for the stormwater system on the site. In addition to that, we're also looking to clean out a corrugated metal pipe that runs along the railroad spur along the abutting property line. This was discovered during the construction phase. It's been pretty overgrown. We're looking to have the pipe jetted and cleaned in order to make sure that that pipe stays functional for effectively the life of the project. We'll be installing straw wall and silt fence on the down gradient side of the pipe and jetting towards that, and it'll be vac trucked regularly during the cleaning process. It's just as part of the operation and maintenance of the site, just to make sure that nothing gets impacted negatively, again, over the life of the project. Those are the only minor changes that we're looking to do. If there's any questions from the commission, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Does anyone on the commission have any questions? Nadia, do you have a recommendation about this field change?
Sure. I mean, I took a look at the site with a couple of members of the commission on site walks last Friday. To me, it looks like I think it would be reasonable to do as a field change. It's very much at the edge of the project. It's not a big change considering the size of the area they're already working in.
I'd like to thank the members of the commission who participated in site walks this past week, and ask if any of them had any additional comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Mike?
I just wanted to find out the diameter of that corrugated pipe that is going to be cleaned. Does Chris know the diameter of that pipe? And
18
Chris?
inches?
18 inches in diameter?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There any council members of the public? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve this as a field change.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Katie. Roll call vote, Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
I believe I have to abstain since I haven't been present for this.
This
project.
is a field change. You can vote on this.
Okay, proof.
And I for myself.
Great.
But thank you for thinking of that, Mary. Chris, anything else?
No, thank you very much for taking me ahead. It's much
All right,
appreciated.
thank you. Now we'll go back to
All right,
public
I'm good.
comment. I'm gonna call on Ken. And I hope Ken will help me with the pronunciation of his last name.
Colstrom.
Hi, Ken. Please give your name and address and tell us what your comment is.
Yes, my name is Kenneth Colstrom. I live at 16 Rue Street, and I guess I have more of a request than a comment. On Wednesday night, a tree near my house was struck by lightning, and it appears to have some severe damage. And I was requesting an emergency order to have that tree taken down.
And I know for myself, earlier today, I saw an email from Ken with pictures of the tree and a picture showing the location. Normally Nadia would be able to do this all on her own, and we would just have to, as an emergency. But as long as Ken is here, we could ratify it tonight. Nadia, would it be possible for you to call up those?
Yep, absolutely. Hold on one second.
Thank you so much, Nadia.
Hey, Bob, this is Jeff. I suppose I can comment while we're waiting for the picture.
Go
to
ahead.
come up. Yeah, I drove by that night after the storm. My parents lived 2 houses down. They had heard a lightning strike nearby, and I noticed that it's a large oak tree. It's probably about 15 feet from the water, and it's split pretty much from top to bottom. So it's a danger right now, in my opinion. So yeah, there you go.
All right. And so Nadia, can you scroll up and show the location of the tree? Right there. There we go. So I'm looking for a motion to approve this. What is it that we're approving, Nadia? An emergency permit?
Yeah, I don't know that you need a motion, but you certainly can do that. So, or you can ratify it.
Well, let's just opt for a motion to ratify.
Okay, it would be helpful if are there any conditions? It would be helpful to know that.
Does that anyone on the commission care to propose any conditions? Hearing
Bob, I
none,
can-
I'm looking for a motion to approve this emergency certification, ratify this as an emergency certification.
So moved by Jeff.
We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mike. Thank you, Mike. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you so much, Ken.
No, thank you.
And thank you so much, Nadia. Is there any other public comment? Then I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, June 15th. And by the way, Mary, you can vote on them even though you weren't there. Katie, are you gonna say something?
I'll say aye.
I'm looking for a motion first.
Oh yeah, I will make that motion is what I meant to say.
Oh, perfect.
I haven't shared the minutes of June 15th or
Oh,
not.
never
haven't.
mind.
Oh,
I won't then.
shame on me. I thought you had.
I shared them with you. I do have one more thing that I need to add, so I will.
Well, then I'm table that. We're not gonna do that.
Just kidding.
tonight. My bad.
I was like, I
thought
watched it. I'll vote.
Because I had sent in my comments, and I believe Rich sent in in the comments, and I didn't realize you hadn't shared them with the full
No, I
commission.
have one more piece to finish. Sorry about that.
All right. I would just note that at 9 o'clock, we're going to interrupt our flow of public meetings if we're still going on for an appointment with 132 Hemlock Drive. And with that, then we're going to move on to our first public hearing. The first public hearing is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by Arnold Dumay for the construction of a septic system and associated grading at 216 Highland Street. I would note that this RDA was filed on June 21st. And so we have to make a decision and issue an approval or either a positive or negative by July 12th. Is anyone here for, I gotta admit these people in the waiting room.
That's gonna be me, Trevor Fletcher with Graz Engineering.
Okay, Trevor Fletcher.
How we doing?
Good.
Good, yes. So what we got going on here is it's a little septic upgrade. He's actually gonna put an extra bedroom in the house. So it's other than that, it's pretty much just a septic upgrade, pretty standard. We would look for the lowest spot on the property to make it run gravity as much as we could. And at the northwest corner of the lot, there is a little depression right next to the existing shed.
And so Fletcher,
yes.
do you have plans that you can share, use and share your screen? You look like you're a professional and
Let's see
you do
here.
the stuff in your sleep.
If you want to bear with me, I think we sent a PDF earlier today, but I'll get it up.
I can pull it up too.
Yeah, that because I'm at home, I'm not at the office, and so I'm not
All right.
hooked up to the
Nadia, can you pull it up?
sorry about that.
Trying to do a lot of different things on the same screen at once. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it might be helpful to have it a little bigger. It's really small.
There we go. Yeah, so in the northwest corner, there's a little shed, or the north side of the lot, there's a shed there, and right next to the shed is a little depression where we're proposing the septic system. That was pretty much the only place on the lot that we could get the septic system to run gravity from the house to the field. There's a little wetland downhill from the stone wall there. The depression is actually lower than the stone wall, so likely even during construction, runoff will not be able to go through the stone wall and reach the wetland at all. We are proposing silt fence along the stone wall just in case if the raising area with the septic system causes any ability for water to run down. We'll protect it in that way. But other than that, it's pretty standard. It's pretty much the only place we could get it without design it without making it a pump system, unfortunately. So yeah, so that's what we're proposing. I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions or comments? For members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Where did you get the information on the wetlands flagging? Because we've had some questions about people didn't know there were wetlands in that neighborhood.
I believe just when they were locating areas to test, they found a small depressed area over there. I wasn't present when the wetlands were flagged, but they must have saw some wetland vegetation, most likely sphagnum moss or something like that, and felt it necessary to flag it up. But
Any other comments or questions from anyone? I'm looking.
Hi, Bob, this is Jeff. Sorry.
Jeffrey, go ahead.
Has this received Board of Health approval?
I believe we have not sent it yet, just because we wanted to get a negative determination from you guys.
No, they're adults.
Before we, if we had to redesign or anything like that, we don't want to, send it in twice for the Board of Health to approve. So as soon as we get a negative determination from the commission, if that is what happens, we're going to send that into Board of Health approval. And then if any changes need to be made that, dramatically affect it, which I don't think there will be. It's a pretty standard system. If there is any changes, we'll come back to you guys prior to construction, obviously.
Okay, thanks, Trevor.
If there are no other comments or questions, I'm looking for a motion for a negative determination.
So moved by Jeff. Soon.
We have a second.
Second by Mike.
Oh, 8:30 tonight. We can stay up a little later.
Thank you. A roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. Any questions, Trevor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna mute whoever Matt is because I think that's where this background noise is coming from. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by Brian Hass for paving of a driveway at 509 Townsend Harbor Road. This was filed on June 15th, so we have to make a decision and issue a decision tonight. Brian?
Yes, sir.
Natty, are you able to share his plans on the screen?
Yes, hold on.
Brian, why don't you wait till we get the screen plans up on the screen before you start talking?
Okay.
And Sue, are you interested in participating in this?
Yes, I'm the abutter.
Okay, thank you. Ah, that's right, this one. That's quite the swamp you have in your backyard, Brian.
Yes, it is.
I've approached it from the back end on my mountain bike once.
Oh, you probably got wet if you went far enough.
I did. I
Okay.
got very wet. All right, so tell us what you want to do here.
Okay, so some of you have been to the house to visit, I believe. So I'm actually doing this backwards in full disclosure. I've lived here for about 25 years and no excuse, did not know that I needed to ask permission to pave the driveway in advance. So I'm doing this in the reverse order, asking for permission. What I like to do or is have permission to pave the driveway, which is that long rectangular shape on the screen, which I think Nadia can probably circle with the cursor. And there's a bump out there as well. Yeah, that's the area. It's next to the house. It's been a stone packed driveway since the house was built in, I believe, 97 or 95. And every spring it's kind of a mess, if you will. If you live in Lunenburg and you have a stone packed driveway, that rings a bell, I think. So we've talked about it for a long time and finally decided to have it paved. And that's the story. And so we're looking for permission from you to allow it to be paved.
So we're looking for a retroactive approval here, basically?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members? Oh, Mary Wilson. And then Mike Ruth. Mary
Hang on
first.
just a minute. Now I'm having another audio problem.
I can hear you fine.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I can hear you
Yes.
just fine.
So I did have the benefit of walking out to this site this weekend. Well, yeah, well, I guess it was Friday technically. I wondered how many trees have been taken down. It looked like there had been some tree work.
Yes, I would say 4 trees about a year ago.
And do we have any idea how far from the wetlands these trees were and how far the closest part of the driveway is from the wetlands?
The trees were next to the driveway. One was close to the street. 1, 2 or 3 were kind of in the middle of the driveway. So I would say in front of the house structure between that and the street. And one was sort of diagonally behind the house or by the back door of the house, if you will. I think Mary saw the house. I think she can see a stump there.
And do we have any measurement or estimate of how far it is from the back end of the driveway to the wetlands?
It's between 30 and 50 feet, you know, from, at least from the wetlands maps, you know, not confirmed by field, any kind of field truthing.
Thank you. Anything else, Mary?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. I think Mike LaRouche was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Were there any trees cut down underneath the driveway that was paved?
Were the tree, can you say that one more time?
Were there any trees cut and the driveway put over the stumps or the trees that were cut?
Not on the 75-foot section of driveway. On the bump out. Yes.
You're saying there were no trees that were cut, but possibly on the bump out there were?
The trees that were cut on the main part of the driveway, that was existing driveway. So there were no trees there. On the diagram, or if you were one of the people who walked, there's a bump out there.
Yes,
Okay, that may overlap a couple of stumps that were there back in the day.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Thank you so much. Katie Childs.
Oh, hold on, my dogs started barking, so I just want to make sure they're not back. Okay, cool. Is the new driveway in the same dimensions as the formerly gravel driveway? Like, did you extend it at all or make it wider?
The long portion of the driveway, the 75-foot section, is the same as the stone packed driveway. The bump out is an extension.
Okay. I personally, I know we're still discussing it, but would like to see all these changes written on a plan, even if it's just a basic plan, for later on once we discuss this. But I just want to let my opinion known. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I'm sorry, Rich Tremblay was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick questions. Under that bump out, would you say there are two stumps of trees that you cut that were under there and approximate size of those trees? Do you recall?
I would say one stump would
One.
be under there. I mean, it would have been in that space. Some of them were already there. And what was the second question? The size of?
Approximate size of the tree you cut.
It was a pine tree. It was, I'm not good at that.
All right. Well,
Take a guess.
Okay, it was tall, a little bit taller than the house and a little wider than a big, heavy man.
okay.
And the actual trunk, how wide was the trunk?
The trunk, couple of feet,
And it was only as tall as the house?
taller than the house.
It was taller than the house.
Taller than the house.
All right. And anything else, Rich?
No, that's good. Thank you, sir.
Jeff?
Yeah, I was on the site walk Friday as well. That the west side of the driveway, in my estimation, is probably 40 to 50 feet from the wetland, just off the north side of that west end, towards the back of the house. There was a pine stump left. It was about 24 inches in diameter. I guess my only concern is that there's a lot of gravel running down that hill. It's just loose gravel. I should say stone. It's like 3/4 stone. I'd personally like to see that stone removed and relumed and seeded, and possibly a tree planted in that area in replacement for that one tree that was taken, although it is more than 30 feet from that wetland, but it would be nice to get a tree back. And that's it.
Those sounds like potential conditions on a motion. Any other, Rich, did you have something else or you just forgot to lower your hand?
Forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
No problem. Any other comments or questions from members of the commission? If there are none, any comments or questions from members of the public?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Go ahead, Sue. Name and address.
Yes, yes. Good evening, Chairman. My name is Sue Petralia of 545 Townsend Harbor Road. My property abuts 509 Townsend Harbor Road. I have many concerns regarding the installation of this driveway. One of which is that it was extended onto my land without my knowledge or consent. But of interest to this commission, I'm concerned about the height and slope of the new driveway and its resulting runoff. Mr. Haas, by his own admission, did not permit or survey this installation, which he was required to do. And if he had, he would have received guidance from this commission, which would have rendered this discussion unnecessary. Instead, he bypassed the correct procedures and created an environment that puts the wetlands and my property in jeopardy. I've since learned the prescribed procedure is to scrape first to ensure the necessary depth of stone pack and asphalt do not raise the driveway to a height that creates damaging runoff. That was not done. Instead, additional fill was brought in, resulting in an altered driveway that is now higher than the surrounding ground, wider than the property boundary, and longer and closer to the marsh. Furthermore, natural, unaltered land between properties was excavated, eliminating a natural berm. So this driveway now slopes toward the marsh and my property, which naturally descends toward the marsh. I'm concerned that my property will be damaged by this runoff, but also that an environment has been created by Mr. Haas that could result in damage to the wetlands, damage that could appear to primarily come from my land when in fact its source is his driveway. According to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and noted in the Wetlands Enforcement Manual, no person shall remove, fill, dredge, or alter any area subject to protection under this section without the required authorization, or cause or leave in place unauthorized fill, or otherwise fail to restore illegally altered land to its original condition. It further clarifies examples of alterations that apply here, including but not limited to the changing of pre-existing drainage characteristics and the destruction of vegetation. Mr. Haas claims in his filing that the recent paving of the road required him to raise his driveway 1 foot to meet the road. That implies the road is now a foot higher. If this were so, every other driveway in Townsend Harbor would be in a similar situation. In fact, the street was scraped last year before paving. This is a poor excuse after the fact to justify his hasty installation of this driveway and does not explain his excavation of the berm. I understand the role of this commission is to protect the wetlands, but in doing so, you also protect citizens from neighbors who deflect the responsibility of damage to wetlands onto abutters. Mr. Haas circumvented all requirements incumbent on him with regard to this project. I ask this commission to require him to bring his driveway into compliance with the laws protecting wetlands and abutters from harm. Thank you.
So Sue, what specifically would you hope would come out of this?
I would hope that he would be required to scrape this driveway back down to an appropriate level. He's going to have to remove the asphalt, scrape it back down, and then install it with the required setbacks from the boundary, the property boundaries. That entire parking pad, the extension that he referred to, while it's indicated on his drawings as if it's on his property, it's actually all on my property. We've found the property pins, the markers. He's been present when I've noted them. And that entire parking pad is on my land. And from the street to the marsh was all, there were trees, there were, kind of some scrub and weed stuff in that too, but there was some shrubbery in there. And that's all gone now. That's all just been excavated and removed. And now that driveway slopes directly onto my land. And my land has a natural descent and slope down to the marsh. So runoff from his driveway is coming right into my land. And my land is going to naturally slope to the marsh. So I'm concerned about down the road, potential damage to the marsh and having it appear as if it's coming from my land when in fact it came from his driveway. It needs to have been installed properly. He circumvented the proper procedures and it needs to be corrected. You can't, it can't be left higher than all of the surrounding land and naturally paved with a slope to the neighbor where it's going to create runoff and damage to the neighbor's property.
Thank you, Sue. Any other comments from members of the public? And then if there are none, we'll go back to Mr. Haas. Mr. Haas?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. The street, when it was repaved twice, it was not a foot higher, and I don't believe I ever indicated that it was 12 inches higher. It was significantly higher than it was prior, several inches. And the company that did do the paving, the driveway itself, just for clarity's sake, is on par with the street, the front yard, just to keep it clear. The trees were removed along with trees from several neighbors at the same time. Three houses together worked on clearing trees on their properties to improve the quality of their yards.
Anything else, Brian?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Katie Childs?
I'm just thinking, when we've looked at previous driveways and what we've done to approve them. So, I mean, at the very least, I'd like to see a plan with how far we are from the wetlands, dimensions of the driveway, bump out property lines, anything like that, just stuff we would generally ask for. I personally wouldn't be comfortable with approving this tonight. I want to see some of these things.
Okay, well, that brings up a discussion the commission needs to have about RDAs and timelines. I don't know if you had a chance to review both the, and I probably should have done this at the beginning of the meeting, not in the middle of a hearing. I sent out to the members of the commission a summary of the office hours with the town attorney that occurred last Thursday. And then Nadia sent out to the commission a page from the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners handbook or 2 pages on, handling RDAs. And there is a DEP regulation that says you have to issue a determination of applicability 21 days from the date in which the RDA was filed, and this RDA was filed on June 15th, and so that would mean that we would have to take and make a determination tonight. However, also, if you take and you look at the town attorneys, and in the past, what we've done is we've asked the applicant for permission to continue the hearing. We haven't specified to the applicant that they're waiving their right to constructive approval. And we've just done that. Lots of other communities take in, more typically, they just take it for an RDA, they take and they say, you're one and done, either we approve it or we issue a positive determination. Or the other thing we can do is we can ask in the Association of Conservation, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners guidance also says that you can ask, the applicant for permission to continue. The town attorney recommended if we did that, we have the applicant, sign something in writing and file it with the town clerk. If we do issue a positive determination, the applicant would have to then turn around and file an NOI to get the work approved. So I'm looking, Nadia, I appreciate if you would weigh in on this issue, and then the commission could have a little discussion about how we want to handle this.
What exactly do you want me to weigh in on, Bob?
On the whole issue about, should we just, if we're not prepared to give a negative determination tonight, should we just give a positive determination, or should we take and ask the applicant for permission to continue?
Well, I think given that this is sort of very new information for the commission to digest, you might want to continue. Normally you would ask the applicant to continue, and you might actually need that information on the plans to make the decision.
Yeah.
But maybe be very clear about what else you need in order to make the decision, so you can make it at the next possible meeting.
Okay. Mr. Haas, we're not prepared to give you a negative determination tonight. And so, your choices are, we can give you a positive determination. You have to start over again by filing an NOI, or you can agree to a continuance, we would I would go around and do a straw poll for everybody about, what they would be looking for, by 2 weeks from tonight, so we could make a final determination 2 weeks from tonight. What are your wishes?
Yeah, a continuance with some direction from you on what you need to help make a decision.
All right, and so I'm gonna do a straw poll of of each commissioner, and also give the public an opportunity to provide input as to, what would they be looking for tonight. And we'll start with the people who went on the site walk. Jeff?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to see a plan with a 30-foot and 50-foot from your determination from the wetland. I guess you can have Nadia go out and actually determine that edge of the wetland. You can measure with a tape measure if you'd like, since it is an RDA. And then the position of the driveway previous, and then driveway as it is now. The conditions of the driveway previous and now. The property line on the north side to see if you are infringing on your neighbor's property, and the approximate tree sizes and placement of each one and where they were cut from, and diameters of those stumps.
And anything else, Jeff?
I think that'll do it.
Katie?
Honestly, Jeff just hit it on the head for me. Exactly what he said.
Okay, I'm sorry, I should have went to Mike next. He went on the sidewalk. And Mary?
Do we know the actual height of the original driveway before it was paved? Is there any way to determine that? And the other question I had was, as the abutter has said that she believes that some of this work was done on her property, is that something that we can also determine?
We can certainly ask to have it plotted on the plan.
Okay.
Mary?
I generally agree with Jeff and everything that he said. I would like to know the abutter mentioned a berm, and I'd like to see that on the drawing. And I would like to see some representation of the abutter mentioned some woody bushes and whatnot. I'd like to see some representation of that as they were before the work was done.
Thank you. Rich, did you have any comments? You went on the sidewalk.
I was there, yes, I was, and I agree with Jeff. I think he hit all the points that we need to look at. I agree.
I'm sorry, we're going to go back to Katie Childs. She raised her hand.
Sorry, I remembered another thing. So I wasn't able to go on the site walk. If there could be maybe pictures from the applicant of the current condition, and maybe if he has pictures of what it was before, I think that would be super helpful for me.
Yeah, especially the pictures before.
Yeah.
I took a few on Saturday, Jeff, if that's important. Mr. Chairman, I mean.
Thank you. I think we've exhausted members of the commission. We'll go to Sue.
Thank you. I can actually provide you with some pictures of the driveway before and the driveway now as it is, that will answer some of those questions that the board has brought up.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
And that would be helpful if you could take and send those to Nadia. I'm assuming do you have those digitally?
I do have those digitally. I'll forward those to Nadia.
Thank you so much. That would be helpful.
You're welcome.
And Brian, if you want to see what she's forwarded, you can ask Nadia for those.
Yep, I will do that. Thank you.
And I would just say to you, Brian, it won't surprise me if if you are successful 2 weeks from now, that the motion won't contain something about, planting a tree down slope and doing something about the steepness of the slope and doing something about, channeling the drainage, that Sue's been talking about. So, and keeping it on your property. So you might want to think about that.
Okay.
And so with that, I'm looking for a motion and with the permission of the applicant to continue this until our next meeting, which is on July 20th.
So moved?
Second.
All right, motion is second. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and by the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Matthew Proctor for the construction of a permeable paver patio at 172 Peninsula Drive. I got two Matts on the screen. Oh, one of them is Matt Proctor.
Yeah.
How about that? And I would just note for the record that last time I looked, which was like this afternoon, we did not yet have a DEP number for this. So this will be automatic. We'll have to continue this until the next meeting, but hopefully tonight will be a great opportunity for the commission to provide Matt with feedback for any questions they have or any additional information they're looking for.
The plan.
So Nadia, do you want to share the screen? Matt, did you want to share your screen with the plan or?
Yeah, Bob, I'm not prepared to share my screen. If
Oh, then Nadia's way ahead of you. She's already
She's
got it
ready.
up.
She's ready. All right, so as you can see on this hand-drawn plan, you have the existing wall down here at the water's edge. We have the 30-foot buffer zone. And then you have the 50-foot, which is right on the corner of the house, and the proposed permeable patio, you know, right off that corner of the house, not exceeding the 30-foot, but of course, within the 50-foot area, 12 by 26.5-foot permeable paver patio.
And
Yep, go
do
ahead.
you have any additional information or pictures so the commission can see what these permeable pavers are gonna look like and how permeable they're gonna be?
So the pavers will be, it's a random pattern of a paver, but there's a 1/4-inch joint between around each paver. It'll be an aqua stone sweep. So of course, still hard surface of a paver, but completely permeable. The subgrade of this patio will all be 3/4 stone, then to 3/8 stone. And of course, we know, well, Peninsula Drive is a big gravel knoll, so the water is gonna recharge to the system straight through it, virtually a giant dry well underneath the patio. It's gonna take the water. It's not gonna create any runoff. And that's my plan with it.
Thank you. And this is on Peninsula Drive. Okay. Katie Childs.
What was the previous condition of where the patio's going? Like, was it lawn? Was there just like trees?
There's no trees in the area of this patio. It's not really lawn. Nothing really grows back there. It's just kind of, it's natural. You know, there are a few shrubs planted next to the edge of the house that'll be removed. But they're just, you know, there's some landscape shrubs that have been put in that are right against the side of the house. And yeah, just kind of natural. It's just dirt back there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Would any of the commissioners like to see additional information before 2 weeks from now? Well, given all of this silence, I'm looking for a motion to continue to 2 weeks from now, the 20th.
So moved.
Awesome.
Mike?
Second by Jeff.
All right, roll call. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. On to our next Matt Proctor hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. In the town of Lunenburg, Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Matt Proctor for the replacement of a retaining wall at 207 Fire Road 16. And just like the last one, we do not yet have a DEP number on this. So this will also have to be continued until 2 weeks from tonight. And Nadia is once again way ahead of me and
She's
sharing
ready.
your screen already. So can you tell us about this?
Yep. All right, Bubs. I know, I'm not sure which members of the commission went out for the site walk on Friday. I know some people were out there.
I believe it was Mike, Jeff, and Rich Tremblay.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for coming out to take a
Oh,
look.
and Mary
Yeah,
Wilson.
I was going to correct that. Thank you, Mr.
And
Chairman.
Mary
Mary made
Wilson.
it out. That's great. Well, thanks for getting a look at it. So as you can see, these walls on this property have been there for quite some time. They're starting to fail. There was some big trees that were taken down some years ago. I think the roots, you know, of the trees, some big pines that used to be there, obviously started to push the walls. There's a small pump house existing that the foundation of it's collapsing, really needs to be rebuilt. You know, in time to come, it's starting to get to probably a safety issue point with the amount that these walls are leaning. So we want to remove them and rebuild them in the exact location that they are. Right now, there's a wooden staircase up to the center of them. it'll remain that same way. So it's really rebuild in the same location, just as they are, using the neighbor's property for access to get down there. So minimal, we're not gonna try to sneak around the house. There's a pretty heavy slope on the left side. We won't be disturbing anything over there. The access would be from the flat access road coming around from the neighbor's property. And that's what we're trying to do.
And so which is the,
So both
So-
of the, sorry.
I'm
ahead, Mr.
sorry,
Chair.
so is it both of these walls? Is it one of
Yes.
these walls?
Both of those walls.
Wow.
And then you can see the pump house to the left of the stairs in this photo. So that's a block foundation in that pump house. That's collapsing inside there. Really needs some help. Up on the upper section where this fence is, and there's been some poured concrete, it's been added and patched over the years. That's really starting to separate from the upper patio. So they both have a lot of movement, a lot of cracking on them. It's time for them to be replaced.
All right. Any comments or questions from members of the commission? And thank you to the members of the commission who went on the sidewalk. Jeff?
Yeah, Bob, I was on the sidewalk, obviously. Matt is doing the neighboring property, and I gotta say, it looks fabulous. He's definitely done some great work over there. Expect the same from this property as well. It's essentially removal and replacement of a deteriorating wall. They're keeping the stair structure, at least. That's what the homeowner would like to do. My only request is that if you try and do something different with the stairs, that you just come to us with a field change. And the existing shed is going to stay in the same location, that watershed. But other than that, everything else looks good to me. There's no trees that have to come down, and he's going to replant and seed all the areas that are grass right now. So it all looks good to me.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments or questions from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Oh, Mary Wilson.
I'm a little slow on the draw tonight, Mr. Chairman. I did have a question. I think there's some planning shown on this drawing. Are those existing or proposed?
Those are proposed. So
And
yeah.
go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I was going to ask if that's consistent with what the homeowner expects to do, or if those are just sort of representative.
So it's not necessarily what the homeowner expected. Speaking with Dilson Roy came out and produced this plan for us, setting up, all these heights and the existing conditions. And we thought that these would be some things that the board may like to see, doing something to help the property after get some more growth in the areas. That's why we chose to add these to the plan.
Excellent. Could I ask that you confer with the homeowner and confer which plantings are going to be consistent with the drawing and which ones may not be, so that we're clear, maybe update the drawing in that regard?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No
Thank
further
you, Mary.
questions.
Any other comments or questions from members of the commission? Is there
Bob,
anything?
this is Jeff again, sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff.
My understanding, if it's on the plan, it's got to go in. So if those bushes and shrubs are on the plan, then they have to be planted, correct?
Yeah, Mary, and that would be consistent, Mary. I would agree with Jeff that you put it on the plan, you own it.
Mr. Chairman and Jeff, thank you for that clarification. I was asking the question because the homeowner made some comments when we were on site that made me suspect that she's not aware of that obligation.
Well, and then it's excellent that you brought it up tonight and we clarify it. So we all have the same expectations.
Absolutely,
Thank
Mr.
you for
Chair.
doing that.
Yes, thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. I'll make sure I go over it with them. Of course, they've seen this plan, of course, and it's the plan we want to move forward with. But we'll certainly make sure that they're aware that when the major construction of the project is completed, that any plants that are on here that we're representing to go in will absolutely be planted and going in, that they're on board and know that that's 100% the expectation. So we'll make sure we have the 100% go for you once we have this DEP number.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anything that any member of the commission would additional information that they would request be supplied by 2 weeks from tonight. And I believe I've already asked for comments from members of the public. Given that, I'm looking for a motion to continue to 2 weeks from tonight.
So moved, Mike?
Second.
Motion by Mike, seconded by, I believe, by Katie. Roll call, Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye for myself. Ooh,
Great. Thank you for your
I
time.
got people, I just looked up at my participant list and I see I got 2 people to admit. So it's all good. And Matt, I'm assuming you know the drill that we always tell people that a lot of times the holdup in getting the DEP number is the communication from Boston that they've received the check, and sometimes it speeds things up if you take and you get a copy of the canceled check from the bank that you sent to the DEP and you send it to the reviewer, and you can short circuit that process and speed up the issuance of a DEP number.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yep, and if you need help identifying the DEP reviewer, I'm sure Nadia can help you with that, and help you get that information, to the DEP reviewer.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1261, by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a house and associated grading in the buffer zone, Lot 5, Northfield Road. And I would note that this was issued a DEP number that I just read, and this applicant has 5 notices of intent, and the DEP issued the exact same comments for all 5, and I'm going to read them tonight.
So I would recommend actually waiting, because
Okay.
the
Are we gonna
same issue
continue?
with a butter notification has come up with this site. So the
Okay.
applicant has chosen to continue till July 20th.
Oh,
And they've asked the commission to continue and not open not open beyond this until then, because they've re-advertised everything.
super. Plus then that preserves, we don't have to do Mullins forms for the people who aren't here.
Yeah.
All right, so hearing that the applicant is requested to continue, Nadia, can you stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
I'm looking for a motion to continue until what date are they asking for?
July 20th.
July 20th.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Katie,
Yes.
Second by Jeff.
second by Jeff. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. Oh, that's gonna be 5 hearings that we're gonna knock off. That's good. Pursuant to match, continue public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in Lunenburg Wetlands bylaws and regulations listed in Chapter 239. A request, a public hearing on a request for determination by John Welton for the construction of stairs, a landing, and a dock within the 100-foot buffer zone at 205 Sunset Lane, map 129, lot 68. Is Mr. Welton here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Oh, there you are. Hi, John. And Mary, I'm sorry, Nadia, can you share the screen?
Hold on a second. All right, John, did you share with me an updated plan or just updated of what you wanted to do?
In time to update, I was just gonna. Yeah, after talking to the building inspector, I guess I gotta look at other options. You can't give me a permit on that property It's just something, it got complicated, but, so instead I was just asking if I could just, put my dock in and forget the stairs and the deck, and removing any trees except for that one big tree that blew over by the water. I'd like to remove that and just put my dock in for now, and look at other options I have. I'll have to start looking at other options. That's where I'm at right now. So that was all I was trying to do with this meeting, so.
So, John, we would need, in my humble opinion, I'm just one member, we would want a plan that take and said, oh, I'm just gonna put the dock in, take this one tree down, and whatever else you just said.
It's the original plan I had, it's just minus what I can't do from the building.
Okay.
The building inspector
Well,
wanted us.
can we look at the original plan, Nadia?
Yes, hold on.
All right,
A little
thank
time.
you.
I'm not fully prepared with that one, so
That's all right.
let's see. So this one is the revised plan.
So I don't know if all the members caught that, but the building inspector has stated that he can't issue a building permit for stairs, that first of all, that the stairs would require a building permit. And second of all, in the deck, and second of all, he can't issue a building permit because it's not part of a building lot. And so that's the backstory there. And so Mr. Walton is saying now he wants to ditch everything else except for putting in a dock and whatever else you said, Mr. Walton, removing a tree.
Yeah, right down by the dock, where the dock is going, there's a tree that blew over. And the roots came up. It's right at the water's edge, and it's been down for a long time. And I just want to get rid of that one tree. I'm not taking out any other trees to put stairs in or anything. So there's no removing of anything. It's just the removing that one tree that blew over years ago, and then just putting the dock out.
Any comments or questions from members of the commission? Jeff Viviano.
Yeah, Bob, the tree is dead, fallen over. It's about 18 inches round. It's up on the property itself. It's not in the water.
Right.
So it really does need to come out. And I just want to say,
Go ahead.
what's that?
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, I just want to say that we've had this gentleman back multiple times, and a set of stairs and a small landing should have been approved. And I just think it's unfortunate that now the only way for him to access that dock is to walk across this beautiful piece of property instead of up on an elevated set of stairs. So we essentially are we're opening that environment up to some erosion now. Instead of having a set of stairs, now we're going to have people walking down that steep slope. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jeff. So basically, the tree is basically down deadwood.
Yes.
Okay, and it's my humble opinion that the removal of down deadwood is not a regulated activity. Mike LaRouche.
Yes, Mr. Chair. how is the dock going to be? Yeah, I'm assuming it's a removable dock.
Yes, it's a removable dock. It has wheels.
And when you remove it in the fall, how is it going to be removed?
I'm just gonna,
Traipsing it up the hill?
no, I'm not even gonna do that to put it in. I'm gonna float it over from a friend of mine's down the cove a little ways from his property. We're just gonna float the sections over and then just piece it together.
All right, I understand.
Drag it down the hill. I'm not gonna drag it up and down the hill. That's too.
Okay. And the same with your boat. If you dock a boat there, that will somehow be removed from a boat launch. I mean, I'm not familiar with how you get boats in and out of the lake. So
Yeah, over at Shady Point, I put it in and I take it out.
okay, all right, okay. Once again, I don't live on the lake, so I don't know the procedures, but thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that.
Sure, sure.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I would echo Jeff Viviano's comments that I think it's too bad and not the best thing for the environment that we can't approve a set of stairs here, because I don't think we're helping the environment by not approving a set of stairs. But
Well, the commission can approve a set of stairs. It's just that the building inspector feels the stairs have to go by him for approval.
well, I'm sorry, we could we can't approve a set of stairs that will actually be built. So
Right.
Is my understanding. If that ever changes, Mr. Walton, I urge you to come back.
I'm gonna look into it, see whatever options I have, like if I can get some kind of approval down the road through the building inspector. I'm gonna look into this and hopefully feedback, I hope.
Thank you, John.
Thank
So
you.
I'm looking, Mary Wilson.
Yeah, and certainly tell me that this isn't appropriate, but I wonder why what's the conflict here in not being able to approve the stairs? Is that appropriate question to ask?
Well, we can approve the stairs, Mary, but it's our understanding that the building inspector has ruled that he can't issue a building permit for the stairs, and the stairs do require a building permit.
The issue is that this is not a buildable lot. It's a very small lot. It's not an accessory to a house that's, say, across the street or anything like that, which is the case with the two other places do have a house that it's abutting, and so that's part of the building code for the town.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
for that
Chairman.
explanation, Nadia.
This also impacts another lot, maybe a couple others at that address.
Thank you. But as I understand it, Mr. Walton, right now, you're withdrawing the application for the stairs?
Well, yeah, I have to right now at this point, because there's nothing I can do to put them in.
Okay.
At this point, until I look into my other, whatever options I have, I'm gonna look into it, so.
We have a member of the public who'd like to comment, Paula Bertram.
Subject to fine if he, oops.
Paula?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would recommend that the commission, if the commission doesn't have an issue under the Wetlands Protection Act, I understand that the building official may not issue a building permit. However, if the applicant desires to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to obtain permission to install the stairs, having the Conservation Commission's approval would certainly help his application. And it's in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act. So I would recommend, if the commission so chooses, to allow the stairs, understanding that the applicant would have to go to the ZBA in order to install them.
Thank you, Paula. Mr. Walton, you have a reaction to that?
That's, be up for that if that's something you guys would like to do.
I'm gonna do a straw poll of the commission to see how the commission feels about this. We'll start with Mike LaRouche. You know, about approving it with or without the stairs. How do you feel about that? Or giving them, this is a NOI, so we'd be approving it with or without stairs.
Yeah, I'm okay with having him install the dock as he initially has proposed. And I'm not sure if I want to comment about giving an approval to the zoning board of appeals. I'm not really interested in going that route tonight, but this plan seems to show clearly that he's got a right to put a dock where he wants to put it with, and somehow put a question mark on the stairwell or cross it out. I would hate for the applicant to have to give us a brand new plan that excludes the stairwell. You know, we can see where the dock is going to be. And I'm okay with approving that this evening, if that's something we can give this young man a chance to enjoy the water this season.
Thank you, Mike. Jeff?
Yeah, if my memory is correct, the big hangup on this was parking. And I think Adam Costa commented about the parking, and as long as it's done on the street or across the street in this particular case, his exact words, I believe, were, does not impact the wetland, which if you park on the street or, you know, more than 100 feet from the wetland, I don't think you're impacting it. That was the hang up with us. So I would be in favor of approving the set of stairs, a small landing and a dock.
Katie Childs?
Yeah, again, pretty much what Jeff said. I'd be in favor of approving everything.
Mary, I'm interested what you have to say, but you can't vote on this.
I'm aligned with Jeff on this, just from an opinion perspective.
Thank you. Rich Tremble, you can't vote on this, but I'm interested what you have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be interested in seeing the stairs, the small landing and the dock. I think the stairs and the small landing are certainly going to help save any destruction in that 30-foot no disturbance area. People just walking back and forth to the dock will take different routes. They'll go different ways. And before you know it, there'll be a lot of vegetation destroyed in that area. Thank you.
Nadia, were you going to say something? I thought I saw you're.
I was just going to comment that this is an RDA that the commission is making a determination on, not a notice of intent. So basically, I think if you're moving towards a negative determination, then it just means that you think it's exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw, except for a few small conditions.
Thank you, Nadia. Mike, you have some additional comments?
Yes, am I hearing that commissioners are willing to approve this when I thought there was some commissioners rule that we wouldn't approve anything that doesn't have a building permit approval? We can do that?
Mike, our approval, just like we could take and we can say, we can make a note on it, like as we have with other things, like that you must get get permission from the building department, but we can't condition our approval or not lack of approval should be based on the Wetlands Act, and whether or not they get the approval from, like a lot of times we'll approve something and they also need approval from the planning commission. And they can't go forward without the planning commission, but we give our approval, or we give approval for something at Hickory Hills Lake and they can't go forward, without the approval of Hickory Hills Lake, but our approval is independent of that approval. And that's the same case with here. We can approve the stairs. In order to build the stairs, he needs permission from the building inspector. But that doesn't mean we can approve them, if we think they're a good idea. But at least that's the way it's always been explained to me, and I think that's consistent, if you took and you read Adam Costa's, opinions, from the last Q&A session last week. But did I answer your question, Mike, or did I muddy the waters?
Well, there seems to be a little mud in there, but I understand where you're trying to go. So you're saying we can approve the applicant's request despite the fact that he may or may not get a building permit to build the stair in question.
Correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we're not leading the applicant on in this situation, and that also that really when you're giving a negative determination on an RDA, it's not so much an approval as it is saying the Wetlands Act, this doesn't really harm any of the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act or the bylaw.
Thank you, Nadia. I need you to keep me on the straight and narrow.
So,
Well then, I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, Bob.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll motion that we make a negative determination of 205 Sunset with the following conditions: that a set of stairs with 2 landings, no more than 4 feet wide, to a landing area 8 by 10, not to extend over the water, to a 4-foot by 32-foot dock, which will be removable and will be removed upon drawdown and placed on the land. 2 trees shall be planted 1-inch diameter on that second set of stairs going down on either side. No parking shall occur on this parcel.
Is that it, Jeff?
That's it. That's all I can think of at this time.
Thank you. Do we have a second for Jeff's motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Further discussion and roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Any questions, John?
No, thank you very much. I
Have a
appreciate
negative
it.
determination.
Thank you.
All right.
And hopefully you see me soon.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. In the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination in bylaw waiver request by Dan Dugas for an extension overhang of an existing roof at 60 South Row Road. Dan.
Hello.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
So what did you decide to do with your roof overhang there?
We're gonna take down the plywood and the roofing material, and I'd like to leave the joists, the beams that go across, and cover it with, I gave a couple of pictures to Nadia, if she could call them up.
Okay.
Something like that would be the material. And it would come off during the winter time, and I'd put it up in the spring. And that would give me some shade. And that's what I was looking for.
Any?
You asked me about the distance between the water and
Yep.
my house, and I have them there.
Super. That's exactly what the kind of thing I was looking for here.
Okay. That helps.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? This is an RDA. He's looking for a negative determination or a positive determination. He's looking for a negative determination. We have to decide what we're going to give him. Mike LaRouche.
I'm just wondering, sir, what's the material of your awning made out of?
It's a cloth. Water goes through it though.
Okay. All right, it's a very creative solution, Dan.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Any questions or comments from members of the public? I'm looking for a motion to issue a negative determination and bylaw waiver request from Dan Dugas for the extension of an existing roof joists only with cloth at 60 South Row Road.
So moved by Jeff.
Do we have a second?
Yep.
Oh, we have a motion by Jeff, second by Katie. Roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And I for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 40 of Lunenburg Wetlands bylaws and regulations as listed in Chapter 239, a public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1260 from V&V Lunenburg LLC for the redevelopment of a restaurant to a marijuana retail facility within the riverfront at 42 Summer Street. We gonna continue this? Oh, wait a minute. We have Ian Ansley.
Yes. No, the intent is not to continue.
Okay.
So let me see if I can pull up the plans real quick. Okay, looks like they're up there. So to refresh the commission's mind, this is 43 Summer Street, actually. I'm at the corner of Youngs Road and Summer Street. This is an existing commercial property, Donnelly's Tavern, that we are proposing to redevelop into a dispensary. And as part of that, we're reducing the impervious area on the site significantly. I think about 9,000 square feet total. You can kind of see the difference between the existing and the proposed sheets. We were here about a month ago and you saw this project. I presented it. I think you had a couple of comments. We have tried to address all of those on the plans. DEP made a comment as well. Their comment to us was there any opportunity to provide some restoration or naturalization of the riverfront area on the property, which there is, and we have provided it. If you look at the plan kind of on the right side up against the existing tree line, there's kind of a dotted area with a bunch of bushes shown. That is an area that we're proposing to permanently naturalize and plant shrubs and other such things there. I think there's a legend on the top left corner of that sheet, but I think it's St. John's wort and some blueberry bushes as well, and a conservation seed mix. So we are providing some additional buffer and natural area compared to what's there now. And we were able to do that because it's kind of a portion of the property that we don't really need to use. So it was a good spot to do that. The commission had commented a couple things, one of which was they wanted a specification of the seed mix that would be used for the grass and the lawn areas. That is on the previous sheet, which is a kind of a demolition and erosion control sheet. And I think we have 50% ryegrass and 50% bluegrass. It's in the demolition and pavement legend on that sheet. And then also on that sheet, one of the commissioners had asked for some kind of note that stated, unless otherwise specified, any place that gets disturbed, that's not noticed or shown on the plan, would be loaned and seeded and stabilized. And we did put that note. I believe it's on the right side of the plan, kind of in the margins. So our hope is that we've provided everything the commission asked for. We did go to the planning board once last week. I don't expect any significant changes from them. So I think we're at the point where we've provided everything, hopefully, that you need, and hopefully we can close this out. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from members of the commission? Questions or comments from members of the public? If there are no questions or comments from either the public or the commission, then I'm looking for a motion to approve this notice of intent with a standard order of conditions, unless someone has any suggestions for special conditions, which I didn't. Maybe I should review the DEP comments. I think you addressed the DEP comments.
That was the intent. That was the intent.
Yeah, I think you did. So with a standard order of conditions.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff.
Live music returns.
Do we have a second?
Don't dispel a flag, my bluegrass heart.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Lunenburg Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations as listed in Chapter 239, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Hickory Hills Association for the approval of a whole lake management plan at Hickory Hills Lake at Townsend Harbor Road. And I would note that they issued DEP number 208-1266, and they had some comments. And I think I saw both Paula and John here. Who's gonna do the
Yeah.
talking? Paula?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. John will speak to drawdown, but I wanted to talk about a couple of the other comments. So as far as the this not being a blanket approval, that is similar to what we talked about at the last meeting. I understand that we will need to come back for a request for determination of applicability for additional stormwater features. As far as whether or not the constructed plunge pools were reviewed and permitted by Mass DEP, those were done under a prior order of conditions with the Conservation Commission's approval. And certainly Mass DEP had a copy of that lake management plan. As far as raking within the drawdown area being performed by hand, I guess I wanted to look for guidance from the commission on that, because we understand that any alteration to the land under the water body of the lake bottom is not permitted. However, there are literally feet of muck in some areas that we would like to remove, understanding that we can't disturb the lake bottom. So I'd like some guidance from the commission on that. As far as the SPOD technology, I understand that additional information would be required, and we would need to do an additional filing, whether it be a request for determination of applicability or a notice of intent, and understand that dredging projects would require a 401 water quality certification. As far as the conditions of the stormwater management features and the SPOD technology, if the commission wanted to incorporate that into the additional conditions, we would certainly understand that and agree with that. And I'm going to let John speak to the questions regarding drawdown. John?
Sure. So the maximum drawdown, the exceeding maximum drawdown depth, whatever we understand what that is, and we haven't done that. It says the proposal does not meet the recommended drawdown start date of November 1st. In fact, I question why they do not believe that. This commission has told us that drawdown begins at the concrete level of the dam, and the boards that we leave in place for the summer are just for our summer recreation. So we in fact don't start the siphons before November 1st. We have, and as we did a couple of years ago when we did work on the dam, but as a matter of practice and following our own procedures, November 1st is when the siphon is the earliest that the siphons get started. So I don't fully understand what that means. And then it says, will the siphons be needed during the entire duration of the drawdown to maintain the downstream flow? There is always downstream flow. Right now, there is no water flowing over the dam or over the boards, and there continues to be downstream flow on the Mulpus Brook. We talked about a lot about that during the drawdown discussions that we had a few years ago. So today there is no water flowing over the dam. There is water flowing through the dam, around the dam, and under the dam. And we see that water in the area just below the dam, which is conservation land. It continues to have water, so there continues to be flow. So I don't see that as a problem at all. We do have siphons. They do run to maintain the lower level. And we've had them running for 6 years and we have not had them freeze. We do insulate them so that they don't freeze during the winter, and we've been successful, but I can't confirm that they will never freeze. That's not possible. But I think really their concern was water running downstream, and we meet that criteria.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Here's my comment. We asked the lake, and the lake complied by taking and producing, a list of activities that would be allowed, under this notice of intent, without coming back for, additional, butter notifications and public hearings and all that other stuff. And I'm going to ask Nadia if she's had an opportunity to go through that, 8 or 12-page document to make sure everything in there is appropriate, and have all the commissioners had the opportunity to do that.
I have had the opportunity to do that, but being a little less familiar with the town, I wouldn't say that I have. I would have to reserve judgment on all of the pieces because it is a lot.
Speaking for myself, I would love to have the opportunity to sit down with Nadia and go through that document to make sure it's entirely consistent with all of the DEP comments. I mean, I thought it was a great document to start with, before we, so we can just adopt a motion that says we approve the lake management plan, and we approve the order of conditions. And we approve making that document that final document part of the order of conditions. But that's my suggestion, but I'm just one member of the commission, and I'm totally open to other people's comments, on how they want to proceed. Do they want to approve it tonight? Do they want to delay? What do they want to do? Totally open. Paula Bertram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. First off, if that documents after you go through it requires separation of the parts, I simply put in various parts what would require going back to the commission. I'm not sure that I separated them by category, but I could certainly do that at the request of the commission. Two concerns that I have. One is the notification of abutters. The notification of abutters typically is only required for a notice of intent, but your bylaws require it for a request for determination of applicability. Our abutters list is 26 pages long. If we were to implement an herbicide treatment, for example, you had indicated we would need to come back and give specifics on that, which I completely agree with and understand. My concern is doing a 26-page notification took us several hours and a lot of money. So if we were to do an herbicide treatment in one location of the cove. The lake is 315 acres. Would it be possible to simply notify the people within 100 feet of that area versus the entire lake? So that's question one. Second question second concern is, we have a potential issue over at Little Hickory. We typically do an alum treatment in the spring to prevent algae blooms. We are seeing some algae forming over at Little Hickory, so time is of the essence, especially with the heat that we're experiencing. Little Hickory is historically high in phosphorus, and what alum does, or polyaluminum chloride does, is binds with the phosphorus in the water column and stops the algae and sinks the algae to the bottom, and it remains dormant for years. So we would like to proceed with that as soon as possible. We have talked with our contractor, who is a licensed herbicide applicator, and obviously he needs the DEP number in order to file the permit with DEP for the herbicide application. But my concern with having to wait another 2 weeks is we may end up with a cyanobacteria bloom there. We have had to close Little Hickory 2 times in the past because of cyanobacteria, and I want to avoid that at all costs if I can.
Thank you, Paula. Are there any other comments? So Paula, you're speaking for myself. I'm on the same page as you about wanting to avoid a scenario where you have to take and notify abutters and do legal ads, you know, for things that are allowed, you know, that we take and allow, that we take and we create conditions where you come back, you know, to get, you know, for advice and consent from the commission, you know, but it's under the order of the conditions of the lake rather than, you know, starting over from scratch.
That would be great.
But I'm only speaking for myself. You know, I'm one member of the commission. That's number one. And number two, my concern is that I'm not sure the commission can discuss the what's in the order of conditions after we close the public hearing. That we really have to decide on the you know, what goes in the order of conditions, you know, any special conditions that go in the order of conditions before we close the public hearing, because otherwise you know, we're having deliberations after the vote. But I could be wrong about that, and I'm sure Nadia will advise me. But my third question for Nadia, is there any way we can allow the alum treatment at this time, you know, without an approval tonight? So I guess now I'm going to turn to Nadia and see what she has to say.
Sure. Well, first of all, you can discuss, in fact, you can't actually discuss the order of conditions until you close the public hearing. But
Okay.
it does give you less of a chance to talk with the applicant about the specific conditions. So it might be helpful to make sure that you know, any points of contention on the conditions, you already had a chance to talk to the applicant and the public about them. In terms of allowing the alum treatment, have the other orders of conditions, they've all expired? Is that correct? There's no current order of conditions for Hickory Hills?
Yes, that's correct. It expired in April.
So I don't know, that it does put it in a sort of a more difficult place. And there's no other way that you've been able to permit the alum.
My concern is that when we had to do a copper sulfate treatment because we had a cyanobacteria on the main lake, we ended up doing it through an emergency certification process because it was a health condition. So I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to end up having to use copper sulfate. We try to avoid that at all costs. Alum is much more environment friendly, much more people friendly. And so I don't want to dump copper into Little Hickory if we end up with a cyanobacteria bloom. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. So I don't know if, and obviously DEP did not have any concerns about the alum treatment in their comments, and they have issued a DEP number. So I guess I'm looking for any way we could move forward with that.
So, I mean, do the commission know what conditions they'd want to put on the different types of treatments? I mean, if the commission has clarity or wants to talk to the applicant about exactly what conditions they'd want to have around water treatment. There are, you know, I will say like Lake Shirley has requirements in their special order conditions. They have requirements for a notification for treatments that are less arduous than say coming back for an amendment. So it's not a butter notification. It's like you have to put it on your website. You have to put it on town cable. What else do they recommend for that? Let's see, notice to town manager and put it on the town of Lunenburg website. So they use notification channels to inform people of treatments rather than try to do a full butter notification, which is a lot harder.
And we would do that as well. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, and we also have an email blast technology that we send out email blasts. We send out our newsletter via email blast, and we send out any notifications that residents need to be aware of via the email blast. So we could do all of those measures.
I mean, the real question I think, Bob, is does the commission feel like they have enough information to actually start writing out the all the conditions, the special conditions for this, you know, for this notice of intent?
My personal opinion is we do. And the only thing is, you know, and that's up to Paul, to the association, knowing that if we close the hearing tonight and the commission starts taking a look at the order of conditions, you know, the special conditions and the order of conditions, which, you know, the document that they produced before, basically we would be you know, looking at that document to see, are we going to adopt it wholesale? Are we going to make any changes to it? That we wouldn't have the opportunity to talk with them about it. You know, we would make the changes and basically tell them what the changes were, you know, rather than having a dialogue. And that's a choice they'd be making tonight, you know, if they wanted us, you know, to go forward and approve it tonight.
Okay, so our other option would be to continue to the 20th, and that would give us an opportunity between then and now, perhaps, to get feedback from you and Nadia on any modifications that are needed.
I think we could do that. Well, Nadia, how do you feel about that?
I think it might, if the commission would like to assign me to start putting together a draft set of conditions for the commission to consider at the next meeting and to talk about with the applicant, I'd be happy to do that based on the past conversations, based on the prior permit, and anything that also seems relevant from the Lake Shirley permit that might be helpful here. So, because they seem to do a lot of the same treatments on Lake Shirley, and they've all been conditioned by the commission in the recent past.
I think that's a great idea, but let's see what Mr. Fortune has to say.
Sure. I'm just looking at the conditions that we had in 2017, which was the last order of conditions by this commission. And I don't know if others have looked at them to understand what they say or kind of how they look, or even if Nadia has. But they're all pretty reasonable. I mean, I think they're things that we've been following for the last, you know, 4 to 4.5 years. So I think if that would be your intent, to follow those and maybe add some new ones, but they seem pretty reasonable.
My concern with not continuing, however, is we would not have the order of conditions until after the 20th regardless. Is that correct?
Correct.
If we continue, so we couldn't move forward with the alum treatment anyway.
Nadia, that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, so you either have all the conditions ready tonight, or, I mean, the commission could always plan to meet again if they wanted to meet an earlier date, but after the close of the public hearing, the commission typically has 21 days to issue an order of conditions.
Yeah, so closing the hearing tonight doesn't provide us with a benefit from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. So if we were to continue the hearing and potentially have an order of conditions available for the commission to look at and potentially approve that evening, we could then go forward with the alum treatment after the 20th.
Nadia?
I mean, it is up to the commission, feeling like, does the commission have enough information if there's an order of conditions or a draft that we come to that with them, does the commission feel like they have enough information to approve that?
And I'm happy to take a look at the document, relook at the document that I sent out and potentially separate it into those that would be allowed by right and those that would require, additional approval from the commission, because I'm not sure that I did that. I think I just followed the layout of the lake management plan. So I'd be happy to do that and send that to Nadia, and I can do that. I can send it to her by Friday. So you would have it for next week.
And then Nadia could take, and if you could send it to her in Word format, so she could then take and, edit it at her, so that it's the commission's staff's final document.
Absolutely. And I can take a look at the document that John just referenced and make sure that any conditions that were in that are included as well.
Well, I, in my humble opinion, the conditions on the last lake management plan were kind of minimal.
Okay.
And didn't really outline what was allowed and what wasn't allowed.
Frankly, I would agree with you.
So, and I think I think the lake would be better protected if we take and we had a order of conditions that said, these are the things you can do, and you don't need to come back to us for these things because they've already been blessed as part of this NOI process.
Okay, that's fine.
That would be clearer, yep.
Yeah, that would be great. I would like some feedback from the commission tonight, if possible, on the raking after drawdown.
And so what are you looking for?
Well, historically, the commission has allowed us to move forward with raking and to utilize equipment without going into the water, and that does not address change the lake bottom. Apparently DEP's concern is that unintentional dredging, and I completely understand that, but that's not what we're proposing. So I guess I'm looking to see if that's something that the commission would entertain with that condition, that the lake bottom cannot be altered.
Can do a straw poll. We'll start with Mike LaRouche. You understand the question, Mike?
I just wish one of our esteemed colleague was here tonight, because he seemed to have a lot of interest in this particular application, and he's not here. So I wonder what he would ask for questions, and
Are you
it
referring
sounds
to
all
Richard?
reason. Yes. All what's been discussed tonight appears to be reasonable to me, but I am far from being a water science expert in lake management. So what I think is not nearly as important as someone else who has more interest and more knowledge about what's being discussed.
Thank you. Right now, he's in an area where he has no internet. And I don't know if he'll be in an area where he has internet 2 weeks from now. So we may have to do this without him. I also wish he was here, but he's not. So, and I hear you saying you'd love to defer to him, but we may not have that luxury. I'm gonna call on Katie Childs. What do you think about this issue of raking or mechanical removal of muck during the drawdown?
Yeah, I mean, like Paul was saying, I can see what DEP is saying. Personally, I'm leaning towards being okay with some raking. I don't know how to kind of like what Mike was saying, I like to defer to Rich in situations like this too. I don't know if there's like degrees of raking, essentially, like I'd be okay with at least some raking. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I guess the question is, hand raking, the DEP doesn't
Yeah.
seem to have an issue with.
Okay.
It's, using heavy machinery.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, hand raking, I wouldn't have an issue. Heavy machinery, yeah, that can be a slippery slope. No pun intended.
Just-
What if we were to put, similar to the other conditions, that the areas to be raked would have to be, a site visit would have to occur and it would have to be approved via a separate hearing with conservation?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
So I just want to be clear on what it says. It says, that raking within the area, the drawdown area should be performed by hand. Use of
Yes.
mechanical equipment. That means anything. That means my lawn tractor going along
Yeah.
the edge, pulling a cart full of stuff that I
Mhm.
just raked is not permitted. And that's, that is pretty stifling in my opinion.
Right, I'll give an example. My particular beach collects all of the leaves that fall into the lake. And we will typically, our entire beach will be literally waist high with leaves. During the drawdown, we go down with a tractor and we rake them into a lot by hand, but some by machine to put them, or suck a vacuum to put them into a cart for removal. This would prohibit that, which is really restrictive, and there is absolutely no alteration to the lake bottom. So that's what I'm concerned about. And in our previous 2 orders of conditions, mechanical means were allowed, provided they didn't go into the water. So this is a drastic change from previous orders.
Thank you, Paula. Jeff?
Yeah, I guess, hand raking leaves and removing muck are kind of 2 different things. I guess what determines the lake bottom is the question. If there's 4 feet of muck, does that mean, are you going to remove 4 feet of muck? Is that your intention?
No, typically that would be considered a dredging. Typically, we would go in with a piece of equipment and move some of the muck. As to your question about what constitutes the lake bottom, there is an actual lake bottom that is not the muck. It's actually a sand and gravel bottom. And we have a bathymetry map that was done years ago, which was included in the 2016 plan, which shows, the levels of muck within the lake. Certainly I can provide that information. John, you have a better idea of how much muck is typically removed. Can you comment?
We and we call it muck, so it's sediment but I will tell you now it's mostly leaves. Whether it's Paula on her shoreline or me on mine or anybody else around the edges. And I think the big thing is, if any of you have ever shoveled any, what literally waterlogged leaves, it's hard to do it with just a rake. Or even just by hand, it's hard to remove them just because they're so darn heavy. Again, this with what is said here is just extremely restrictive. I think the idea of not changing the bottom of the lake is fine. That's not an issue. But again, if I'm, using my lawn tractor to pull my cart to get wet leaves off of my beach, and I happen to be in the drawdown area, this restricts that, and it just seems too restrictive.
I'm going to go back to Nadia before I go to Mary for her opinion.
Sorry, just one more.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
You're looking for opinions. I wouldn't have any issue with like a small tractor and a York rake to remove debris, but if you're going to be using the bucket to remove material, that's
yeah, we don't do that. It is a York rake.
Yeah, so a York rake behind a tractor and then removing that material with small equipment, I definitely wouldn't have an issue with. But if you're going to move a little mini excavator down there, a backhoe, then that's another thing. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, completely agree. In the past, on the main beaches, what we've done is a York rake.
Yeah,
thank you. I'm going to go to Mary Wilson now.
I did have something to say, but
oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to Nadia.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you could put something in the conditions about, that mechanical equipment is only allowed for the removal of leaves and not any material under that. To be confirmed by photograph or something like that, if that's something that would be practical for Hickory Hills.
Thank you, Nadia. Anything else, Nadia?
That's all.
Thank you. Mary Wilson?
I don't have an opinion, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, my laptop powered off at an inconvenient time, so I missed most of the dialogue.
Okay, thank you. Rich, did you have anything you wanted to weigh in here?
No, sir, not at this time.
Thank you so much. Matt Proctor?
Yes, I'd like to just weigh in on the equipment on the lake, removing leaves and some of the muck. There's a lot of properties on the lake that weren't always maintained year to year that change hands, and there's quite a bit of sediment during the drawdown that's able to get to help, of course, better the people's property, but also improve the habitat of the lake where there's, there's significant vegetation that's not good for the body of water. That some of this removal and the leaves that have broken down over the years to be removed. So I would just like to see that the commission doesn't move towards, I know we can't dredge anything, but an excavator with a York rake, when it's not moving any gravel, it's simply pulling back, materials that are not in the water after drawdown. I see that as a really good thing for the lake, and I'd like to see that's able to be done. Is all I'd like to add to that.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I second the comments, but I think it would be a tragedy if we could no longer remove leaves or decayed leaves from the lake. Using York rakes, and other equipment to remove them, because I just think it helps with preventing the lake from eutrophying. So and it's just plain too heavy for people. So I personally agree with that. So, but right now, I guess I'm looking, first of all, we're going to ask Nadia to take and work with Paula, that Paula's going to take and revise the document for the order of conditions and send it to Nadia, and then Nadia and I will work with that, and we'll have something for the full commission to review on the 20th, 2 weeks from now. And and the applicant will have the opportunity, we'll have the opportunity to dialogue on about it that night, and hopefully we can adopt an actual order of conditions 2 weeks from tonight. Are we all on the same page?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then I'm looking for a motion to continue until July 20th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Katie in a couple of seconds. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you, Paula and John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, where are we? 42. Aha. We are pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Regulations listed in Chapter 239 of a public hearing for a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1262 by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home, garage, and driveway at Lot 3, Holman Street. It's my understanding the applicant has requested this be continued.
Yes, till July 20th, when they have a better notification.
And so I'm looking for a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mike, second by Jeff. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary? Mary, I think you can vote on these because I don't think we ever opened the hearing.
Okay. Aye.
And I for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. The Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1263 by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a well and water line in the buffer zone Lot A, Northfield Road. I'm looking for a motion to continue until July 20th.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. Oh.
All right, we got two motions in 1 second. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. In the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1264 by Ed McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home, garage, and driveway at Lot 4 Holman Street. We're looking for a motion to continue until July 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, we got this down pat now. A roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations is listed in Chapter 239. A public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1265 by Fitchburg Land Property Owners LLC to construct a, did I miss one? A 36,000 square foot warehouse and distribution facility with parking and stormwater controls at 260 Falula Road.
This applicant contacted me this afternoon. They have asked to continue to September 7th, as they are still working on getting approval from multiple town boards, and they won't have a plan that's quite ready for us till then.
September 7th. I'm looking for a motion to continue until September 7th.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion by Mike, seconded by Jeff. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. Actually, Mary, I don't think you can vote on that one.
Oh,
That one we
okay.
did open.
Then I abstain.
That's excellent. That's
Hey,
the right
Bob, was there
move.
something you needed to do at 9 o'clock?
Okay, now let's go back to 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, we have an appointment with 132 Hemlock Drive. Is there someone here from 132 Hemlock Drive?
Yep, Katie Naughton.
Katie Naughton.
Hi, I'm here.
All right, so Katie, tell us what you want to do here.
So I wanted to put a dock in.
And you want to file an RDA?
Yes, so I had
If I
started
understand.
that process, and I was just unclear on the whole process, really. I've been talking to Nadia back and forth, but I've been a little unclear, but she's clarified everything for me. I wanted to just touch base with you and let you know that I was in that process, and while we're in that process, I did want to see if it was possible to make adjustments to the dock ahead of time to make sure that it was up to par with what the Conservation Committee is looking for in terms of stability and materials.
The issue that I have is I don't know if you have standing to apply. Because it abuts the property of a different person, and the dock actually is on the property of Hickory Hills Lake, and where it joins the shoreline belongs to Hickory Hills Lake. So you may have to get agreement from Hickory Hills Lake but I haven't discussed that with Nadia yet. Because Nadia, well, let's hear from someone from Hickory Hills Lake.
John, did you want to speak to that, or did you want me to?
Nope, I can speak to that.
John.
Yes, John Fortune. I'm actually at 50 Hemlock Drive. So I actually took a look at the dock just recently, and the legs of the dock are on the lake floor, and the attachment to the shoreline, whether it's fully attached or not to the shoreline, I didn't go up closely and look at it. Well, I guess you have a picture of it there. So without measuring, I believe that's within the Hickory Hills boundary as well, which is 1 foot above the high water mark. So where the water is today is not quite the high water mark. And if we bring that, the property line up 1 more foot, I believe the attachment of that dock is within all of Hickory Hills landowners' property. So Hickory Hills has a process to follow to get approval for that. And this dock has not gone through that or been approved by Hickory Hills landowners.
Thank you, John. My issue is, does Katie Naughton have standing to make an application for this dock? And that's a question really for our conservation administrator. I guess it may be legal counsel.
Well, I don't have a plan submitted that shows where property boundaries are from the applicant. So I don't know how to make that judgment because I don't know where, I don't know where the law, I guess I can go out and do a site visit.
So I can add all the water and the land under the water is Hickory Hills landowners' property. And in each of the deeds that are recorded, or most every deed that's recorded, the property line extends, the lake property line extends to 1 foot above the high water mark. And the property where this is at, I'm sure if we took a look at that, that's what it would say.
Additionally, the Hickory Hills deed very clearly and explicitly states that the Hickory Hills landowners owes the land, the water, and all land 1 foot above the high water mark.
So,
How does anyone put in a dock if that's the case? They have to start over 1 foot above the high water mark?
So
Exactly.
most,
Exactly.
yeah, and yes, there is an approval process that Hickory Hills follows. This dock is on land where right now there is an approval process will be denied for where this particular property is, and I'm not going to go into any details about that. But at this point, there are no rights for anyone on that property to put a dock in the lake.
Matt Proctor has his hand up and I was going to call on him, but then he took it down.
Well, I was just going to say that the process of approving a dock under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Lunenburg bylaw, as Bob has mentioned, should be separate from approval of other parties who may be required, other than, obviously, you don't want to leave an applicant on. So I think it's up to the commission to sort of clarify how the bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act applies to docks and what the requirements are for applicants and sort of what can typically be approved, what is likely to be more problematic. I personally, as someone who's new to Lunenburg, would like that guidance from the commission as well, so that I can share it with many prospective applicants who do not know what to do regarding docks.
And so I'm going to call on 3 people in succession. Then I also have a comment. I'm going to call first on Matt Proctor.
Hi, Mr. Chair. My first comment would just be for the application process would be that the property owner of 132 would be applying for a dock. As far as I know, that be how this situation would go. And just trying to make sure it's going through the right channels, that it's the property owner is a woman, Donna, and not Katie. So just trying to see that it's going through the proper channels with who is applying for this dock permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And then we're going to go to Jeff.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, I guess maybe I'm not the only one that's confused, but whose property is this? Not a foot from the lake, but outside
It's,
that 1 foot
it's a
permit?
different person, Donna Paciacola Orphe or something like that.
Padiacola.
Thank you for the pronunciation.
And then I would assume they got their permission to put a dock there? Is that correct?
No, they did not. Oh, the individual applying, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
she
we have-
lives across
have
the street or
permission.
something?
Go ahead, Jeff. Can you finish your question, Jeff?
So where does, I guess, the applicant live, the one that is requesting the dock?
Up the street.
Up the street, okay.
So
I guess we'd have
I
to,
went and did a site visit on this. I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. I got a call that someone had put in a dock without permission. I went over and I spoke with the homeowner upon whose land the dock abuts. She said it wasn't her dock, it was put in by Katie Naughton. I went to try to see Katie, she wasn't home, but I left I got her phone number. I called her, left a message. She called me right back, and I told her she had to stop and she had to apply for an RDA, and she did. And that's where we are tonight. And then tonight, for the first time, someone brought up the issue that at Hickory Hills Lake, landowners actually don't own the shoreline of the lake. And so the question is, does this person even have the standing? And I have to tell you, in all honesty, that's never come up before. We've approved lots of docks at Hickory Hills Lake, lots of docks at Hickory Hills Lake, where, the lake hasn't asserted their rights, like to say, hey, wait a minute, we own the first foot, and so they can't do it without our permission because we own that land. So this is a new issue, and I'm suggesting that, we may want to explore this with town council, but that's just one person's opinion. I'm going to go back now to Nadia, and then I'll go to Paula. Go ahead, Nadia.
I did just want to note that this isn't an advertised RDA at this point. We have not yet opened a public meeting on this. We are just giving some advice to a potential applicant on what might possibly be permittable in a dock application. And maybe give the commission giving some examples of things that have been permitted in the past.
Thank you, Nadia, for that clarification. Paula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reiterate this through the Wetlands Protection Act, the filings, are for the applicant and the owner of the property. I want to be clear that the owner of the property is Hickory Hills landowners. The majority of docks that we see don't sit right at the water's edge as this does. And the other docks that you've mentioned in the past, typically they are removable docks, and we have approved them through our approval process. And I would agree with Nadia that our approval process is separate and distinct from the Conservation Commission's under the Wetland Protection Act. However, we have not found ourselves in this type of situation before, in which someone didn't come to Hickory Hills landowners and installed the dock completely on Hickory Hills property and on property of an individual that does not have lake standing.
Thank you. I'm going to lower your hand, Paula, and I'm going to lower Nadia's hand.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? So, Katie, what questions do you have for us at this time after listening to all this?
I'm honestly just trying to take it in. I did want to clarify a couple of things, just so we're all on the same page, because I understand that this is a complicated situation. First and foremost, it doesn't extend far onto the land because it's such a steep drop there that it really couldn't extend much higher without the dock being very high. And the dock that you see there is incomplete. So last year when I got the boat, I had emailed the office at Hickory Hills and said, hey, look, I got a boat. And they had said they had extra docks. So they gave me a floating dock, and there were like no questions asked. It was kind of just like, here's the dock, like, have a good summer. And it was really only for like a month. I got the boat in August, so it wasn't a long time. But right before my boat was to be installed, somebody from the HOA came and took that dock away because apparently the original owner had wanted it back, even though it had sat unclaimed for like 8 months or something like that. So anyways, this dock was like a quick fix, really. It was something that I could build in a matter of days to kind of solve the issue of like, I no longer have a dock when I had a dock, a couple of days ago. So, I mean, just first and foremost, just to clarify that I was not clear on the whole process for it. But it is good to hear like where the property lines are and that like that technically is Hickory Hills property, because I know that there has been an issue with like who's allowed to have the dock or if I'm allowed to have the dock, because the owner of that property isn't in good standing, but I am in good standing. And if the dock is technically with Hickory Hills on like, if it's at that 1 foot water line that the lake technically owns, and not Donna, who's technically the owner of that property, and she's allowing me access to that 1 foot through her property that Hickory Hills owns, then I don't see an issue with me having the dock there since I am in good standing. But I guess like the whole process is kind of confusing to me, and it's been very stressful to say the least. Like I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want to be like, it's not like I was out there actively building it and someone came by and said, hey, stop that. And I said, no, like it wasn't like an open act of defiance. So I really do just want to like make it the right way. Like I want to fix it so that it is, correct. And just kind of, solve this whole issue the right way.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions from commissioners? Any other comments or questions from members of the public? Any comments or questions from Nadia?
I think just more broadly, I think it would be very helpful for me as the administrator who's regularly speaking with members of the public wanting to build docks, understanding, if the commission had a stance that, building a dock versus putting in a rolling dock or a floating dock, if there's guidance like that from the commission based on the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw, for new structures, obviously there are things that are grandfathered in. It would be tremendously helpful for me here in the office. So I would like to be able to help people put in a successful RDA and not, if there are mistakes, and then they can remedy them prior to the application.
Thank you, Nadia. Well, with that, then we're going to move on to update on encroachment issues. And unless there's somebody here, there's something that should be handled first. I'm not seeing.
I'm just going to note that Lake Shirley took me out. I went out with Solitude today to do some of their pre-treatment survey. So they are going to be coming before the commission to report on July 20th.
Thank you, Nadia. On the encroachment issues, I wasn't able to make the legal review, the legal Q&A with the town attorney last Thursday. So I wasn't there to ask about what the response has been from 104 Woodland and 116 Woodland, to whom, certified letters have been sent by the town attorney. And I don't have an update on that. Mike, you have your hand up. Or you did.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I wasn't sure if you're going to go back to new business after the encroachment issues.
Oh, why? What do you have in the new business?
I just wanted to give an update on 123 Hollis Road. Would this be a good time to do that?
This is a perfect time, because the next thing on the agenda is Hollis Road residents, updates on maintenance work and reimbursement.
Okay. A couple of things. I know we had some funds approved for a goat project to handle some of the pollinator habitat, piece of land that has some poison ivy. And I know we got approval for using the goats, but as any other project, you learn more about something and you realize there may have been a better way to do this. And I think that's where the pollinator habitat team has gone. It looks like that we're thinking now to see if we could get a field or brush mower to do it instead, because apparently the process with the goats and the vinegar application would not eliminate the entire issue that we're looking to solve, which would mean, which would be to eradicate the poison ivy from coming back. And there seems to be other methods that are available that may even be cheaper than what we initially thought of with the goats. And I wasn't sure how to handle that since there was an approval for one particular procedure. And now we're looking at something different.
So just say tonight, well, we're not going to spend that money, but we're going to spend it a different way.
Okay, that's what we're hoping to do. I wasn't sure if we needed to go through what we've been thinking. You know, this way we can actually do more for less. Isn't that always?
We love that.
We love that. Okay, well, that's the plan.
And have we made any forward progress on having the resident contact Mass Save?
The resident had come down with COVID the last time I had a conversation. And once I believe she has recovered from that, I think she went on a cruise to celebrate. And I have not been able to connect with her in that regard to see if she's made that appointment, because only she can make it through the rules of Unitil. But I will continue to try to communicate with her to see if we could get some closure and an appointment set.
Thank you, Michael, for your due diligence on that. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm afraid this whole thing about trying to involve Mass Save will just take and delay the process till after the start of the school year, and we'll be back to square -1. So
I'm wondering if we could in turn, like, bring someone like, you know, the Anderson renewal people in and see what that would cost for window replacement. I know that only solves one particular piece.
And so if you'll recall, we got agreement from the assistant town manager that we could take and break it into windows, you know,
Yes.
insulation. But I think we'd have to touch base with the assistant town manager about, you know, can we bring in people and get 3 quotes? You know, do we need a bid process? And so we just have to touch base to make sure we're doing the right thing. But I love that idea.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Certificates of compliance, 30 Gilchrist Street, lots 1 and 2. Do we have a recommendation, Nadia?
I'm going to recommend that we issue a certificate of compliance. I went to visit the sites. They're fully vegetated. The as-built conform with what's going on the lot.
I'm looking for a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 30 Gilchrist Street, lots 1 and 2.
So moved.
So, second.
Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Don't I need to abstain from this one?
no, there's a certificate of compliance, it has nothing to do with the hearing,
Oh, I approve.
and so do I. 50 Page Street, lot number 2, do we have a recommendation, Nadia?
Again, did a site visit, fully revegetated, everything's according to plan, would recommend to approve.
I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
aye for myself. 939 Northfield Road. Do we have,
This is
we have a
actually a
recommendation, Nadia?
question. This is a question for the commission. This was actually on the agenda earlier in May. And I went through the minutes and it said to hold for now. And then I went through the video and didn't see it mentioned. So I just didn't know. I've taken it up with the applicant. I just want to know if the commission has any memory of what was determined on 939 Northfield Road.
And darned if I remember. This was in what month?
This would have been, I think, the 5/18 meeting, which I did attend, but I wasn't necessarily looking for that in particular.
Yep. And do we have and you went back and looked at the video?
I looked at the section of the video where this normally would have been addressed, and didn't see it addressed at all. However, there are some notes in the approved minutes, and I have gone back and contacted the applicant.
And so I'm thinking, and if it wasn't approved, would you recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance?
I don't know what the status of it is. I'm still going through some of the records to see if there's any back information about it in the recent past. All
Well, then I
have
would
is a handwritten
suggest that you
note.
take and you complete your due diligence. You know, and maybe do a site visit. And we take a suspenders and belt approach. And after you've done that, you know, we pass, we take a vote at a future meeting.
Okay, I just was wondering if anyone remembered anything. I haven't found an as-built either.
All right, thank you. 72 Hemlock Drive. Do we have a recommendation there, Nadia?
Recommend to approve, issue a certificate of compliance.
Thank you so much. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. All right. We turn the page. 475 Leominster Shirley Road field change. We already did that. Enforcement. Do you have anything to say about all these different enforcement actions? Please just go over the ones where you have something new to add.
Sure, I'll start with, hold on. I've got something to share. We've got a plan for the dock that's come in from fire from the McGurns.
Oh, okay.
So
That
let
would
me pull
explain
that
why
up.
they're here. Yeah, we asked them to come back for a field change.
I believe they are here tonight as well. Let me pull up the, hold on. The revised plan with this. The one with the dock. Okay. So they have added the dock to the plan with the, for the commission's request, the removable dock. Bob, I believe you asked for this at the last meeting to be accepted as a field change.
Yep.
I will note that I've been in touch with DEP and the person who's overseeing the superseding order of conditions. And they do not want a dock put in under the superseding order of conditions. However, a removable dock they might be amenable to. So I'm supposed to go on a site visit with them either tomorrow or next week. And maybe maybe that can get sort of sorted out between, I don't know how the commission is really coordinating with DEP on the bylaw versus the superseding order.
And I have no clue either. And hearing that, I'm thinking that we should wait until after your site visit to take any action on this.
But maybe the applicant's here, so maybe, Butch, maybe you can clarify.
Yeah, actually, I spoke with Gary Dulane because and we talked about this when Matt was still available. And when Matt, myself, and Gary Dulane were looking at the property when it was just about an enforcement last March, I specifically asked Gary, was it necessary to go through the state DEP for approval of the dock? And he said, no, it was not necessary. And then Matt at that time just said, when the time's appropriate, let's put the dock on the plan. I've had a dock on plan for a significant amount of time, but then the enforcement order shut me down since March, I believe it was the March 14th date. And now we're here back in front of you after we have the approved plan, like the commission asked me 2 weeks ago, or now 3, because it was a 3-4 week month. And here's the proposed dock, and I believe I followed all the guidelines I've been asked for.
Jeff Viviano.
Yeah, I think the only request that we had for them to put a dock in is to put it on the plan, which I think they've done. I don't see any reason why we would not allow it. It's a removable, I would assume, aluminum dock on wheels, and in my opinion, it should get approved tonight.
Richard Tremblay.
Thank you, sir. I'm just curious, how long is the dock? How wide is the dock? There doesn't seem to be any information unless I missed it.
By 36, 3 12-foot sections and a 4-foot wide there. It's a Chloe dock. It's a, sorry, flow dock.
Is this
Approximately
plan to scale?
36 feet long,
36,
36 and 4 feet wide?
correct, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, seeing how there's a superseding order of conditions, I suppose we could go with the general theory, which I usually espouse, that our approval is independent of other people's approvals. And that, you know, our approval would be independent of approval by the DEP under the superseding order of conditions. And, you know, it's between Butch and Joanne and the DEP about whether the DEP approves the dock, you know, and I'm perfectly willing to entertain it tonight. I mean, generally, we treat docks as a routine thing, so. But I'm open, you know, to the commission's pleasure here. Would anyone like to make a motion on this request for a field change?
I'll make a motion, we accept the field change for a 32 by 4 foot removable dock.
I thought it was 36.
36, yeah, right, 36 by 4 feet.
Fully removable aluminum dock. Do we have a second?
I'll make that second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary?
Don't I have to abstain from this one?
No, it's a field change. At least I don't think you have to abstain, but what do I know?
Aye.
And I for myself. Any questions, Butch?
Nope, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Nadia, we'll see you tomorrow at 1.
Great, thank you, Butch.
Thank you. Have a good
So,
one.
Go ahead.
all right, so I did have a question about a couple other of these. So there's a couple of folks we've never heard of. We gave them a letter of non-compliance, 48 Oak Ridge and 23 Cove Road. It's been over a month since those letters have been issued. They were issued by Matt. So I'm wondering, do we want to pick them up at all beyond issuing a letter to them?
Well, I think at this point, we take and send them a pointed invitation to come to the next meeting and tell them if they don't show, they'll be fined for not showing up.
Okay, so these are letters of non-compliance. They're not enforcement orders. We also have 54 Pine Grove that said,
Nadia,
yes,
can you please explain to the commission and especially myself the difference between a letter of non-compliance and an enforcement order?
sure. An enforcement order is a formal form that is sort of issued under DEP. It actually gets sent to DEP and it lets people know you are definitely not in compliance. You know, you have violated the Wetlands Protection Act and or the Lunenburg bylaw. they usually have some information about what exactly was done wrong, and they're given a specific deadline, usually 30 days from the issuance of the enforcement order, to come before the commission. A letter of non-compliance is a little gentler. It seems to be something that Matt would do, just write people and say, hey, you're not in compliance. You should really come to the commission and work on this issue. So it would be very appropriate for an enforcement order a month after it's been issued that people haven't replied, very appropriate to start fining. I'm not as sure with non-compliance. I think the next step would be to go back, take a look at the sites, see if they need an enforcement order at that point. So that, I think the enforcement order would be appropriate next step.
Well, see, and speaking for myself, I think 23 Cove Road needs an enforcement order. They built a shed, you know, within the no disturbance zone.
Okay. Well, I think if people are not responding to a letter, the enforcement order is a little stronger. And then the
yeah.
next step from that would be a fine.
That's great. Let's do progressive discipline.
Okay, so I'll do that for 48 Oak Ridge, 23 Cove Road, and 54 Pine Grove. Pine Grove was supposed to file an RDA, but again, it seems like they just kind of dropped it once Matt retired. So I can reach out to them first and see if they are willing to do anything. Gabe's Place. So this, we do have a restoration plan. I believe the applicant is here tonight, and the commission did come out to visit the site last week. So hold on, let me get a share up. I think is the applicant still here? Or
Yeah, I'm
the
here.
homeowner, Brian?
Yeah, hi Nadia, I'm here. It's Brian. Can you hear me? Do you want me to explain?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know you want me to present. So, yeah, this is an area we were applying for a pool permit in April, and Matt noticed those rocks. You can see them lining the path. What happened was, you know, when we moved in and purchased the house in 2015, there was a fallen tree on that right side gap that's in that picture. It fell across the left way across there. And of course, a couple years ago during COVID, we removed that tree. The commission came out, they saw the parts of the tree, the rotted wood that were still placed back there. And in the process of that, I raked all the leaves. It was pretty caked. For it, there was tons of loose rocks everywhere, which we then used to line, you know, with the water path. At the time, we didn't realize it was protected. Since that time, since I got the order from Matt, we've left it untouched. And you can see from the follow-up pictures, the growth, you know, kind of reestablished. So the proposal is to remove the benches, allow it to continue growing in naturally, and basically remove the benches in the birdhouse. That birdhouse that's way in the back is actually on a stump it was cut probably when the house was being built. And my guess is that's where a lot of the rocks were from, because there was just several of them. My guess when they cleared the land, they were just left there, is my guess. And there's a stump, I know several stumps on the other side of it, which I showed the commission.
Maybe other commissioners are more familiar with this than I, but I'm not sure why we're asking you to remove the birdhouse. Or is the bench on two existing stumps, or what is the bench on?
Loose stumps placed above the ground from leftover wood I had from a different location area.
Okay. Well, that's just my 2 cents. And so what is there an issue to be decided here tonight, Mary, with this? I mean, Nadia, with this?
Sure, the issue is just, there was I think you got a letter of non-compliance. Is that right, Brian? And you were asked to, or was it an enforcement order?
It was an enforcement order.
So he was asked to present a remediation plan to be approved by the commission.
And so we're being asked to approve this remediation plan tonight? Is that
Yes.
what is before us?
Yes.
I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
aye for myself. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Anything else under enforcement, Nadia?
Let's see. So, again, so non-compliance, 336 Arbor Street, they haven't had any contact, so I'll move that to an enforcement order. Since we haven't heard from them since, you know, at this point, this is 2 months. So it's probably time to move to that. The beer slot, they are likely to come back, not this meeting, but another one, either with a new plan or even a notice of intent. They, again, are talking to the building inspector and are probably going to, they are able to build, that is a buildable lot because it's an accessory to their house across the street. But they may need to do something that can actually be approved by the building department. And what has built may not have the kind of structural stability that the building inspector is looking for. So they are probably going to need to put something into the ground. 408 Electric Ave is just submitted an RDA, so that'll be at the next meeting. 75 West Street, the RDA is in progress. And then let's see, Hemlock Road. I don't think we have anything else here. Just oh, Goodrich Street. Goodrich Street, we have an enforcement order, and we haven't heard anything from them. So after the positive determination and enforcement order, I did want to ask what the commission wants to do here. If this is the time to start issuing fines. You've all dealt with this applicant.
Can you remind me what the applicant was doing there?
They're doing quite a bit of work on their site. I know this is a large house. There's lots of stonework. They had put in an RDA and the commission had issued, I think, a positive determination. They had sort of back in, this is again, I think on May 18th is when you issued the positive determination. Who's the applicant for this? Hold on.
In general, Nadia?
This is David Blatt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
So
in general, I urge you to pursue, progressive discipline where we take and we keep we move from letters of non-compliance to enforcement orders, from enforcement orders to fines,
okay.
From small fines to big fines, until we get their attention.
Okay, and I just haven't issued fines yet with this commission. What do you typically start fining at for enforcement orders where people haven't replied?
Do
you want me to look into the bylaw and look at what the rates?
Well, I mean, the bylaw has a whole bunch of fines. It's like, I think we do like $100 a day per violation or something. The number 300 usually is a sweet spot where it certainly gets their attention.
Okay. Is it something I can chat with you then after the
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll talk about that then.
Anything else under enforcement?
Not at this time. I do have a report of work beyond the NOI at 445 Townsend Harbor Road. So I will look into that and see if they need a letter.
Thank you so much. The next thing on the agenda is election of officers. Patty is not here and Rich is not here. I'd like to defer the election of officers to sometime when we have a full board, unless someone feels we should have the election tonight. I would just say if someone else wants to be chairman, they should feel free to indicate that. I'm not wedded to being chairman forever. And if somebody else wants to do it, I'm more than happy to let them. But I think we should wait till we have a full board before we elect officers. Does anybody feel differently about that?
Sounds like a plan, Bob.
Thank you, Mike. Open space and land use. Is anyone willing to be I sent out a description of the duties of being on the open space and, in the extent of the commitment. Is anyone willing to step in and be our representative to the Open Space Committee? Mary Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be willing to take that on.
That would be marvelous. Would anyone like to contest this position? I'm looking for a motion to approve Mary Wilson as our nominee to the Open Space Committee.
So moved.
We have a second. All right, in a second. Roll call vote. Jeff.
Aye.
Katie.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I for myself. Stormwater Committee. Is anyone willing to represent the Conservation Commission on the Stormwater Task Force? Looks like I'm gonna have to twist some arms between meetings and cajole and try and convince. Let's see. Howard Street driveway permit application. I applied for a permit with this commission's blessing to put it for a driveway permit for on Howard Street for to the Table Rock property. It turns out that the abutter there who would help clear the trail to the property line, then turned around and decided he didn't want the driveway there because he was afraid we were going to put in parking. And he didn't like what he read about what's going on, at the parking area for the Lane property. So he opposed it. And then it turned around that everyone approved the driveway permit except for the new DPW director. And the new DPW director said he wanted an engineered plan to take for the driveway permit. And so I went out to talked to Greg Roy and asked him, could he give me an estimate what it would cost for an engineered plan for a driveway? And you can see here, Nadia's got it up on the screen. It would be $1,800 for the plan, for an engineered plan to put in a driveway there. Another member suggested that perhaps maybe we might want to take a look into a logging operation there, where the logger would take and make the access onto the property, and create an access onto the road. Because right now, our goal here was to be able to take and have a regional trail where people like hikers, bikers, snowmobilers, snowshoers, cross-country skiers, equestrians will be able to use a trail and get on to onto Howard Street, at the north end as part of a regional trail system. Well, right now, the mound of rock and dirt that abuts the road, it's hardly safe to get over it on foot, never mind any of the other stuff I just described. And so you would need to have an excavator come in there and do that'd be a fairly big excavator, to take and modify the roadside, so you could get all those different, categories of users to be able to take and access this trail from the road. And so, we could take in, first of all, it looks like we're going to have no shortage of money. I'll get to that in a minute. We've got like 20 25 grand right now in our timber rights fund, and we're projected to get another $29,000 from the timber rights harvest on Reno and on the Hollis Road property. I mean, so we certainly can pay for it. So we could take and we could go ahead and get the engineered plan, do it the right way, and get a driveway permit. And then I'm going to turn around and ask DEP to not DEP, the Department of Public Works, DPW, to put it in for us and see how far I get with that. Or we could take and look into a logging operation there, but I don't like the timeline on that. I mean, supposedly the logging operation we started on over a year ago on Reno and on Reno and Hollis Road, you know, they still haven't started logging yet. So I'm open to suggestions here. I guess I'm asking for a motion, listening to myself talk, to approve $1,800 for an engineered plan here. Mary Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Absolutely.
If we did approve this proposal for the $1,800 engineering work, it's not clear to me the opposition of the abutter. What bearing does that opposition? I mean, even if we do the engineering work, supposedly they'd still be opposed.
Well, and this is just my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, you know, we have a brand new director of public works, and the abutter happens to be a contractor who works with public works all the time, and is well known to the director of public works. But in actual fact, so I think that comes into play here, but in actual fact, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I mean, to me, the public's right to the public property outweighs any butter. Butters are never happy when we take and provide access to a conservation property. And so in my humble opinion, it has no relevance whatsoever. But I think it may have been instrumental in having the director of public works say, oh, I want an engineered plan. But I could be wrong about that. Could be you want an engineered plan no matter what. So we'll see.
I would motion to approve.
All right, a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion approved, second. $1,800 to develop an engineered plan for this driveway application. Roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And I for myself. MRPC bill. We have a bill from MRPC, which is in the drive, which closes out
point of
all the
order.
mapping. I'm sorry, Nadia.
Sorry, what funds is that gonna come out of?
That's going to come out of the timber rights fund.
Okay, great.
All of these are going to come out of the timber rights fund. MRPC bill. We have an MRPC bill, which is in the thing. And I believe that some of that will be paid with an existing purchase order. And we need another about $1,000 to complete paying off the GIS work for all of the trail maps. And I'm looking for a motion to approve the completion of the paying of the MRPC GIS bill.
So moved.
We have a second. All right, motion and second. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I for myself. And then we have MRPC driveway. I'd like to take in looking for a motion to approve $250 payable to CAI Access GIS, which is the GIS vendor for the town's assessor's website, and that would provide a trails layer. So when you go on the assessor's website, you'll be able to call up a trails layer, and it'll show you all the trails in town, and it'll overlay it with like the DEP wetlands and all the property lines and all that other good stuff. You know, the trails layer was developed off of all the maps that we've been working on for the last 2.5 years. You know, by MRPC. And so then they created this, they communicated with Access GIS, they created this trails layer, and I'm looking for $250 so the Access GIS will upload it right away.
So move.
Motion to,
Go ahead.
second,
All right, roll call. Jeff,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye. Mary.
aye.
and I for myself. I want to acknowledge the work of Lynn Mann and her husband Bruce on the creation of all of those wonderful property signs that are up on all the kiosks across town. And they've also agreed to create 4 more signs for kiosks that we haven't even built yet. So thank you so much to Lynn and Bruce for making all those wonderful signs. The update on consultation with town council. I hope you all read that carefully. I don't want to go over it again. I mean, everyone can read and make their own conclusion. Nadia.
No, I was just gonna note, there's some people waiting to get in. They had some questions regarding the enforcement order at 75 West Street.
Oh,
and
I
they
was
were in the
unaware of
waiting
that. Let's go back to enforcement.
room. You may need to look at the waiting room and see if they need to. be
There's
let
no
in.
one in the waiting room.
Oh, well, they may not be there anymore.
I see a Tom that I don't know who it is. If there's someone, they could raise their hand.
It was,
There's a Kevin, I don't know who they are. There's a Tom, and that's it.
yeah, they emailed me about 20 minutes ago. That's all.
I'm sorry, I missed that, and if I had known they were waiting, I would have been happy to acknowledge them. I apologize. And at the time of the consultation, town attorney had not heard from Sean Kelly. But now he has heard from Sean Kelly's attorney, or the ex-executor of Sean Kelly's attorney. And Sean Kelly left his estate, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Conservation Commission for the acquisition and improvement of conservation lands. He did not leave his real estate. He left the net estate. So it's just a wonderful news. And it'll probably be a year from now that we'll get somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000. So that's great news.
Wow.
And it makes me never want to have to apply for another grant again when I can just pay someone else to do it. Any committee reports? Any public comment from members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Oh, good. I was going to make a comment about you, but go ahead.
Oh, well, I hate to cut that short. I just wanted to emphasize about the those signs that were posted on the conservation land kiosk. They are absolutely gorgeous. And I, out on my daily walks, I noticed the one over on the Lane property, and it really rounds that kiosk installation out very, very nicely. It's lovely. So I don't think the people that installed them and created them are on tonight, but I really was impressed.
Yeah, they came forward over a year ago and started out by volunteering. Actually, it was Bruce came forward and volunteered to do a sign for Rob's Hill. And then he said, oh, and he thought it would be easy. And then they decided, oh, we can do signs for all the conservation properties. And then he got into it and he found out it wasn't as easy. And Lynn took it over. And Lynn did most of all the routing. They had to buy templates. They had to buy a new router, which they did. I told them I'd be happy to buy the routers for them if they were able to buy them at Mackey's, which they weren't. So they bought their own router, they bought their own templates. I furnished the clear poplar that the signs are made out of. Lynn took over all the routing and he helped with some of the polyurethane and the installation. And they've been working on this on and off for a long time now, you know, through COVID and, you know, family trips and all this other stuff. So you're absolutely right. They did a marvelous job. And I want to thank you as the new member. You made it through your first meeting and welcome to the commission.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Any comments from members of the public? We have Tom and we had a Kevin, he's gone. We're down to almost nobody now, except for members of the commission. Looking for a motion to adjourn at 10:10. Not bad for a night with 12 hearings.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion and second, roll call. Jeff,
Aye.
Patty, no, Katie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I for myself. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Nadia.
Well, good night.
So when you get that thing from Paula, you know, let me know and I'll come in and we can kibitz on it, okay?